Love the lifestyles of the rich and famous? Can't get enough of seeing how affluent people spend their money? Then you are definitely going to want to take a peek into the lives of the super rich in South Korea. And we will give you a little hint. It's definitely not what you are used to, so stay tuned to find out what drink these rich kids are going crazy over. Before we jump into it, if you are new to our channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Now let's take a look inside the lives of the rich kids of South Korea. People have been fascinated with the lives of the rich and famous since the beginning of time. That's why shows like MTV Cribs and The Rich Kids of Beverly Hills do so well. People want to know what it's like to have so much money that you can spend it on literally whatever you want. They want to see what it's like to spend thousands of dollars on handbags and shoes. But rich is actually relative. What constitutes as rich definitely varies from country to country. What might make you rich in an Eastern country might just make you normal on the Western side of the world. The lifestyles that rich people lead also vary from continent to continent and country to country. When you take into account exchange rates and inflation, rich is not equal across the board. So let's focus on South Korea. What are the rich kids who live there like? Well, first off, they aren't that rich. Well, at least by American standards. In America, rich means multi-billionaires, but in South Korea, that is not the case. South Korea has the 4th largest economy in Asia and the 11th largest in the world. But for the country to have such a booming economy, it just doesn't have that many billionaires. That doesn't mean that some of South Korea's population isn't extremely well off though. Just think about it. South Korea is home to large conglomerates like Samsung, Hyundai, and LG, so you know that the people behind those companies are making some big bucks. But when you take the numbers and compare them directly to the wealth in the United States, it doesn't add up. In America, the wealth gaps are huge. The richest 0.1% have more accumulated wealth than the lower 90%, but in South Korea, the gap isn't so astronomical. According to the Korea Labor Institute, the top earning 0.1% of Koreans average an income of 360 million won a year. That may sound like a lot, but to put it into perspective, that is only 308,000 USD. These people are usually doctors and lawyers, so if you happen to be a child of one of these doctors, lawyers, or business moguls, you may be living lavishly by South Korean standards, but if you travel abroad, it could be a rude awakening. As far as schooling, the rich kids of South Korea are required to do the same amount as everyone else. Children between the ages of 3 to 6 go to preschool and kindergarten. The richer students tend to go to private kindergartens. After that, primary education is free. 90% of students attend public primary schools, which means there are barely any private primary schools around, but the rich often like their schools exclusive anyway. For those who can afford it, sending your child away to an English-speaking country for schooling is a must. It not only shows your family's high standing, but it allows the kids to have a nearly native grasp of English. People with less money also attempt this as well, but in those cases, the fathers stay behind to work. That means they only see their children once or twice a year, because the mothers and children venture off to live in the other areas. But if rich kids do stay in South Korea, they are most likely to live in the Gangnam area. Oh, did you think the Gangnam Style was just the name of the singer Psy's popular song? Nope, it comes from this area. Though it used to be quite a poor district, over the last 30 years, the Gangnam neighborhood has changed a lot. It went from an area of workers to a super rich stretch of 40 square kilometers. Many say that it is the Silicon Valley and Beverly Hills of South Korea. The area is so affluent that it even has its own saying. If you say that you have Gangnam Style, it means that you can afford to live in Gangnam. This immediately signifies to people that you are rich. Just to give you a little perspective, to live in this part of South Korea, it costs you $10,000 per square meter. The area has the best schools and all the rich kids in Seoul live, eat, and sleep in this super posh district. The neighborhood plays host to some of the biggest brands in South Korea, and as of 2010, $84 billion of the country's wealth came from Gangnam. To put that in simpler terms, that means 7% of the whole country's GDP comes from that little span of 15 miles. The neighborhood in Gangnam is not just a nice town or nice neighborhood. The kids that Psy is talking about are not Silicon Valley self-made millionaires. They're overwhelmingly trust fund babies and princelings, said Adrian Hong, a Korean-American consultant and expert on Korean issues. But even the rich people who find a way to move into that area sometimes have to borrow money to keep up appearances. In 2010, the average household had credit card debt worth 155% of their income. On average, adults in this area have around 5 credit cards. Heavy spending is extremely valued, and the credit card debt is looked at as a necessary evil. You are probably wondering at this point what the rich kids of South Korea are spending so much money on. Well, for one thing, coffee. There is a line in Psy's infamous song that says he is a real man who drinks a whole cup of coffee in one gulp and wants a woman who also drinks coffee. That line probably didn't make sense at all when you first heard it, but in South Korea, coffee is a luxury. I think some of you may be wondering why he's making such a big deal out of coffee, but it's not your ordinary coffee. Korean blogger Ji Kim wrote on her blog vlog, My Dear Korea. In Korea, there's a joke poking fun at women who eat 2,000 won, about $2 ramen for lunch, and then spend 6,000 won on Starbucks coffee. So if the regular people of South Korea are spending their hard-earned money on expensive coffee, then you can only guess how much the rich kids are spending in Gangnam. The number of coffee shops has gone up tremendously, particularly in Gangnam. Coffee shops have become the place where people go to be seen and spend ridiculous amounts of money. Since coming to South Korea in 1999 at a prestigious all-girl university, Starbucks has taken over and become a symbol of status in the country. To buy a cup of coffee in Seoul in 2015, it would have cost you about $3.80 for a tall Americano. In America, those same drinks were running for about $2.25. According to the International Business Times, coffee has passed the country's national dish, kimchi, as being the most consumed food in the country. The study showed that people are drinking a cup of joe 12.2 times a week. A paper cup from Starbucks and other franchises has become a status symbol when walking down the street, similar to carrying a famous brand handbag. Even if coffee is not your thing, you are still likely to buy it to keep up appearances. If the boom in expensive coffee consumption in South Korea tells us anything, it is that the rich want to keep up appearances. And to do it, they are willing to go beyond just buying exorbitantly expensive coffee. They are willing to even go under the knife. Plastic surgery is becoming increasingly popular among the rich in the country. There are really popular trends such as tearing the inner corner of the eye to make your eyes more almond-shaped. Previously, it was in style to get liposuction and transfer the fat into your forehead. This idea came from the fact that many Western people have taller noses and larger eyes. In South Korea, getting these things done is called the basics because they are so common. In fact, it is so common that many people don't even consider it as having work done. It has gotten to the point where many affluent parents are pressuring their daughters to get surgeries. One source told Vice that her mother urged her into getting cosmetic surgery. She told her that all she had to do is go to sleep and it would be done. According to data from the International Society of Aesthetic Plastic Surgeons, 20% of the women in South Korea have had some form of plastic surgery. On the procedure consultation forms, many women say that they are getting the surgeries to prepare for weddings or jobs. Sadly, many times the reason is simply to feel prettier. Since looks are everything when it comes to the rich in South Korea, fashion is also high on their priority list. When you walk down the streets of Seoul, you will see a sea of designer labels and extravagant handbags. This city has become such a fashion hub that in 2015, they even got their own fashion week. Because of the high quality of clothes and all the wealth in the area, the shows always attract a large number of international guests as well. But no one is dominating the fashion market like the millennials of the country. For the rich kids of South Korea, all this primping, plastic surgery, and fashion obsession is partly due to the fact that their social standing puts them in the line to marry very well. In fact, many rich guys from Jebels, which means their family owns massive conglomerates, have married very beautiful actresses due to their wealth. If you are rich, marrying a gorgeous wife is almost a given. Banker Choi Jun-hyuk was able to marry actress Jun Ji-hyun. His grandmother is a world-famous designer, and his father is the largest shareholder of Alpha Asset Management. They are just one example of how well-to-do kids can pretty much have their choice of the pack when it comes to who to marry. But you don't have to marry a famous person to be well-known in South Korea. The rich kids of this country have pretty much a direct path to fame on their own from the moment they are born. Being rich means that you have connections that only others dream of. So if you want to be in the music industry or in films, stardom is really only one phone call away. Gangnam Style singer Psy was actually rich from birth as well. In 1955, his father founded DI Corporation, which is a semiconductor company. Psy's mother runs a high-end restaurant called Petite Season. So when Psy was starting out in his musical career, he definitely didn't have to worry about money restraints. Girls' Generation member Soo Young was also living in a mansion before she ever signed to the girl group. Her grandfather runs an architecture firm and is well connected in the arts, so the young singer was basically a shoe-in to be in the entertainment industry. As in America and other modern countries, having connections is everything. Some even say that who you know matters more than what you know or even how talented you are. So if that is the case, then the rich kids of South Korea are pretty much born into fame should they choose that path. As we mentioned earlier, children from well-off families are often sent to school in English-speaking countries. This also gives them an advantage when it comes to acting or singing. To break into either of these industries internationally, English is a must. By the time most of these kids finish school and return to South Korea, they can speak English with little to no trace of an accent. So, what is it like to be a rich kid in South Korea? It really depends on what kind of rich you are. If you are one of the rich kids whose family just ran into money, then your life may be completely different from someone in one of the chaebols. But no matter which end of the spectrum you are on, appearances literally mean everything. So whether that means buying expensive coffee when you don't even like the drink, or getting surgeries to make your eyes more almond-shaped, that just comes with the territory. On the other side of the coin, these kids do get to live pretty lavish lives. They go to all the the best schools if they don't go abroad for schooling. They get all the latest fashions and they have a fast track to fame and becoming celebrities. When you look at it in the grand scheme of things and weigh the good with the bad, being a rich kid in South Korea sounds pretty sweet, don't you think? Are you shocked by any of the things you learned about the rich kids of South Korea? Let us know in the comments section below. North Korea. It's a country that's been making a lot of news lately. Unfortunately, most of it has been rather negative. After all, turn on a television or search through the online news and you're bound to come across at least a few dark stories concerning this so-called hermit kingdom. From dictators to missile launches to stories of famine, from the outside things look pretty bleak in this small Asian country. Indeed, apart from stories about the military and impoverished population, there doesn't seem to be much else going on in North Korea. Unless, of course, you make your way to the country's capital of Pyongyang. There, you'll run into a small but noticeable group of millennials who wouldn't be that out of place in the hotspots of LA, New York, and London. Yes, these are the 1%ers of North Korea, and they live a lifestyle that is so different from every other North Korean, it's hard to believe they actually exist. Normally, when we talk about the 1%, we mean the super wealthy and privileged of the Western world. We imagine 20-something men and women buying the finest cars, covering themselves in expensive jewelry, and living in the finest homes. Well, that situation exists in North Korea as well. Traditionally, the richest in North Korea worked in the government or high up in the military. Over the past several years, that situation has begun to change a bit thanks to the arrival of Kim Jong-un. The millennial generation makes up 25% of the North Korean population. Unwilling to follow in the footsteps of previous generations, they have used their parents' status to propel themselves into positions of wealth and privilege. They are now known as the Donju, or masters of money. As wealthy merchants or holding prominent jobs, they enjoy a much higher standard of living than most. Living in Pyongyang, this 1% is making itself heard. Sure, they're not as obvious as their LA and New York counterparts, but the wealthy and young adults who live in Pyongyang enjoy a lifestyle that might just surprise you. One thing pretty much every defector from North Korea has said is that food is pretty hard to come by. Unsurprisingly, after years of famine and mismanagement, most of the people in the country are hungry or malnourished. Then there's the rich kids of Pyongyang. First off, the capital city receives the best food because Kim Jong-un wants it to be a symbol of North Korean success. However, if you're a rich kid, then you get access to the absolute best there is on offer. What do we mean? Well, living in Pyongyang isn't cheap to begin with. For instance, if you like coffee, then expect to pay upwards of $9 a cup. If you're a meat and potatoes kind of person, that meal can cost you $50. Even a bowl of bibimbap, a standard dish of rice, vegetables, and egg, will run you $7. For the regular resident of Pyongyang who brings home an average monthly salary of $10, these foods are a luxury that's out of reach. For the super rich millennials, buying such items is a daily routine. In fact, they think nothing of entering the few fancy supermarkets and spending hundreds of dollars on Austrian beef, Norwegian salmon, and European craft beers. When they finish spending large sums on food and drinks, those 1%ers love to shop. It's a good thing they live in Pyongyang because you won't find a lot of fashion items outside the city. In an area of the capital known as Pyonghatan, rich kids spend their money as quickly as they can on Western fashions. It may not be LA's Rodeo Drive or New York's Fifth Avenue, but over here it's as close as you'll get. Yes, in North Korea, anything Western is supposed to be evil, but like pretty much everywhere else, there seems to be a different set of rules for the rich. Wealthy 20 and 30-something men and women rush into the stores to buy goods from H&M, Zara, Adidas, and Nike. Designer handbags and flat-screen televisions that cost well over $100 are a dream for most regular Koreans. For the brat pack of rich kids out shopping, such luxuries are a reality. Even modern music isn't out of reach. If you have the money, then it's been reported that you can access everything from Britney Spears to Backstreet Boys to the latest K-pop coming out of South Korea. When it comes to cars, the rich don't need to wait on long lists for government approval like everyone else. This is pretty obvious when you see most people waiting to spend $40,000 on a tiny compact car while the rich kids are driving around in imported Audis. What's one thing the super rich love to do in the United States? Well, get cosmetic surgery, of course. In fact, all over the world, men and women spend considerable money to get everything from Botox injections to butt lifts. Interestingly enough, it turns out that the rich kids of North Korea are no different. Now, before you start thinking that North Korean women are getting breast implants to look like Pamela Anderson and work on their caboose to look like Nicki Minaj, we'll tell you that's not the case at all. This is a land where there is actually a list of state-sanctioned hairstyles after all. It just seems that North Koreans, especially the rich, got tired of watching their South Korean neighbors lead the way in cosmetic procedures. While there may not be as many going under the knife in Pyongyang as in LA, the rich millennials of North Korea do enjoy some work on their eyes and nose. In fact, if they aren't getting nose jobs, 1%ers are eagerly getting work done on their eyelids in order to look more Western. The procedure can cost upwards of $200 depending on the quality of the surgeon. That may not sound like a lot to you and me, but in a city where you're lucky to make $10 a month, that's a luxury only the richest can afford. Now, before we go on, we just have to clear up one thing. As you've seen so far, those rich millennials who enjoyed the good life in Pyongyang seem to live by a different set of rules. In a way, they do. Just like the rich everywhere else in the world, there is a somewhat unwritten set of rules by which the 1%ers of North Korea live. Western fashions, imported foods, Western cars and technology, it all seems to go against the views of Kim Jong-un. Well, according to some who have enjoyed the good life in the Hermit Kingdom, there are rules that no amount of money will overcome. For instance, sleeveless shirts and skirts that are very short are totally off limits. For those rich kids looking to stand out by changing their hair color, forget about it. Hair dye is reportedly non-negotiable. In fact, any clothes or personal fashion that is too radical or extreme will get attention of the North Korean authorities, and not the good kind. Clearly, foreigners who visit North Korea are not bound by these rules, as proven by the numerous visits of Dennis Rodman. So if you can't wear outlandish fashions or modify your look too outrageously, how can a super rich kid of Pyongyang make themselves stand out? One former member of the capital's so-called brat pack of rich kids leaked the strategy. Lee Hyun's CEO defected years ago, but she told reporters that hitting the gym was an important part of a rich kid's life. Yes, hitting the gym is a great way to get those bulging arms, nice legs, and overall healthy appearance. However, the gym also serves another function. Limited to those who could afford it, some time spent at the gym was also a way to show off your body and a little extra skin to others around you. After all, if you're expected to wear long skirts and shirts with sleeves in public, then the gym gives you an excuse to bear those parts that need to be covered in public. That's an added bonus to dishing out those gym membership fees as well. In those gyms designed solely for the rich, millennials get to work out and show off their bodies all while enjoying an array of generally off-limit television programming. For instance, according to former residents, the televisions in such high-end gyms often show Disney programming or other Western entertainment. Yet another example of the laws being bent to suit the lifestyles of the rich. Of course, like any group of rich kids, sticking around in one place can get kind of boring after a while. Like their American counterparts, the rich millennials of Pyongyang love a good vacation, which is something only the richest can dream of. The wealthy and kids of rich parents have a few options when it comes to R&R away from the big city. Of course, you could always go to China where there is plenty to see and buy. This can be a bit of a hassle even for the richest because the government needs to be notified and permission granted. For this reason, shorter trips to locations in North Korea are a favorite. Now, you likely don't think of North Korea as the kind of place that caters to travelers. Yet, under Kim Jong-un, a number of theme parks and resorts have been open to cater to those with either the right political views or larger wallets. For the wealthy North Koreans who like horses, there are stables such as Miram Riding Club. For $35 an hour, North Koreans get time with an instructor to learn all about the ins and outs of handling a horse. Again, if that doesn't sound like a lot, just remember that the fee is around 3 times more than an average monthly income for a Pyongyang resident. If horses aren't your thing, you can always head to the famous Masik Pass Ski Resort, complete with a ski school and 120-room hotel. North Korea's only ski resort is a special place reserved for tourists and the richest kids who call Pyongyang home. With its Austrian ski lift and imported snowmobiles, this posh location doesn't come cheap. North Korea's 1%ers can expect to pay $100 a day to ski or over $500 for a 2-night hotel and ski package. Of course, that fee includes transportation, but we can't imagine the rich putting aside their Audis to travel in resort buses. Ultimately, to outsiders like you and me, Kim Jong-un's North Korea remains largely a mystery. If the news and media are anything to go by, then it seems that this hermit kingdom is obsessed with all things military. Yet as we've shown you, there is an entirely other side to the North Korean story. It's one without missiles, famine, or harsh military rule. Instead, it's a life of Prada, plastic surgery, and vacations. Sure, it may not involve the glitz and glamour of Paris, LA, or New York, but the rich kids of Pyongyang give us a whole new view of life in this secretive land. These rich millennials also prove that regardless of laws, culture, and political differences, the wealthy elite are pretty much the same no matter where you find them across this planet. Censors in China want to keep a lid on the extravagant lifestyles of the wealthy young Chinese, but when these rich kids come to North America, they certainly don't mind flaunting it. Keep watching to learn about the shocking scandal caused by one such rich kid from China. Stay tuned to see. Today we're going inside the lives of the rich kids of China. If you've ever wondered how the other half live, you'll be fascinated to learn about the lives of the wealthiest young Chinese socialites. In fact, this isn't so much the other half as the top 1%. These children of incredibly wealthy Chinese families are known as future, which means second-generation rich, and the way they flaunted their riches on social media and reality series led to a ban. In 2016, China's State Administration of Press, Publication, Radio, Film, and Television banned children of celebrities from appearing on reality TV shows. The regulations were put forward as a way to protect minors from being exploited, but it was also a way to rein in the pampered kids of billionaires whose ostentatious displays of wealth highlighted the gap between the richest and the poorest in the country. It's not surprising when you consider how some of the rich kids of China boasted about their bank balances. Let's look at Wang Xikeng as an example. He's the son of a real estate and entertainment magnate who is often referred to as the richest man in China. And as a flashy 20-something, Wang posted a picture on social media that caused controversy. He uploaded a photo of his pet dog wearing 2 gold Apple Watches. Chinese state media had already been outraged by the way he recklessly disseminates vulgar information, which leads to the worship of money. This is in stark contrast to what China's president wants his country to represent. President Xi Jinping and the ruling Chinese Communist Party have been running an anti-corruption campaign, which requires officials to live in a state of austerity. The government also held an educational retreat for 70 children of billionaires to teach them about social responsibility and traditional Chinese values. So, after this recent crackdown on corruption in China, such conspicuous consumption as Wang's has become a real no-no. But that hasn't stopped the rich kids of China who moved to the West showing off their extravagant lifestyles. The stars of the Canadian reality TV web series Ultra-Rich Asian Girls of Vancouver are a group of fruiterai doing just that. They think nothing of dropping $70,000 on a necklace. Although censors in China banned reality shows similar to this one, saying children of the well-off should not be flaunting their wealth, this program continued to be filmed in North America. So it's no surprise that one of the cast members, Diana Wang, revealed that her parents back home in China didn't know anything about her involvement in the show, and that they would be very angry if they found out. But China's new rich do see the West as the goal for their children. They send them to the UK and North America so that they can get an education, start a business, and socialize. However, with this move comes a concern about globalized wealth and inequality. These rich kids come from a culture that values hard work and thriftiness and has a long history of poverty. How does that sit alongside the fruiterai's brazen splashing of cash? Although the stars of Ultra-Rich Asian Girls of Vancouver are filmed spending ridiculous amounts of money on jewelry and clothes, they also realize the importance of making their own fortune. Cast member Chelsea Jiang runs her own children's fashion website, and her fellow docudrama co-star Pam Chow runs a modeling agency. So what do these rich kids from China who are living in North America spend their money on? One popular purchase is a supercar. A car that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars sounds like a serious splurge to most of us. But these super rich kids from China consider the cost of a Lamborghini or a Ferrari cheap. That's because elite cars in China can cost more than 250% of their price in the US. Nick Lam co-founded his own company that specifically helps rich Chinese college students buy ultra-luxury vehicles. The 20-something entrepreneur revealed that his clients consider the US price reasonable, and they certainly have enough money to buy a supercar in the States. Some deals have involved cars that sold for up to $800,000. These kinds of extravagant purchases can give rich kids from China instant fame. These new stars then give the world a glimpse inside their luxury lifestyles through their social media accounts. They also become famous through their relationships with other high-profile Chinese celebrities. Mocha Fang entered the limelight as a 20-something on a matchmaking variety show and then in an online series called Girls Apartment, which was based loosely on Sex and the City. But her fame grew when she started dating Aaron Kwok, a very famous singer, dancer, and actor from Hong Kong who is a couple of decades older than her. He's one of the 4 Heavenly Kings, a term that a media outlet used to refer to the 4 biggest male entertainment superstars in Hong Kong in the 1990s. Aaron announced their relationship on Weibo, which is China's version of Twitter, and Mocha got busy sharing snapshots of her riches on Instagram. The couple got married in April 2017 and welcomed their first child in September. Mocha's life is extravagant but pretty much scandal-free. The same can't be said for Gua Meimei. She stirred up some drama when she brought the state-run Red Cross Society into a major controversy. Gua first gained fame on China's Weibo social media network in 2011 as baby Gua Meimei. She claimed to be general manager of an organization affiliated with the Red Cross Society, but her outlandish lifestyle wasn't exactly in keeping with that of a modest charity worker. She shared pictures of her flamboyant life, which consisted of a Maserati, jet ski, Hermes handbags, and casino outings. She even posted a screenshot of her huge bank balance. But this life eventually came crashing down. The Red Cross Society denied any affiliation and reported her to the police, but the damage was already done and donations to the charity plummeted. The Chinese anti-corruption got involved and Gua was eventually arrested for running an illegal casino in Beijing during the FIFA World Cup. She gave a disturbing confession from jail. An apology was reportedly ordered from the highest ranks of China's Communist Party. She described herself as liking to show off and having the vain mindset of a little girl. Unlike many of the other rich kids of China, Gua didn't have a privileged background. She wasn't a fuderai, but she did build a fortune at a young age through being a professional mistress, and it was her social media boasting that made her one of the most hated women in China. And she was made an example of in a stark warning that a reckless pursuit of wealth can have calamitous consequences. If you've ever wondered what it's like to be wealthy, look no further than the filthy rich kids of Iran. Growing up with more cash than they know what to do with, they're able to buy the most expensive cars and jet off to exotic locations all year long. After catching a glimpse at how the kids in this Islamic Republic live, we guarantee you'll be shocked by their lavish and flashy lifestyles. Just wait until you see what other rich kids did with a super expensive bottle of champagne. Stay tuned because you won't want to miss it. If this is your first time visiting our channel, don't forget to subscribe and please give this video a big thumbs up. Today we'll be showing you inside the lives of the rich kids of Iran. Life as a rich kid in Iran is more exciting than most of us even realize. Thanks to social media platforms such as Instagram, the rich kids of this Islamic Republic are able to brag and show off their lavish lifestyles for the entire world to see. Profiles like this one, called The Rich Kids of Tehran, allows outsiders to catch a glimpse of just how extravagant their lives are. Money is the least of their concerns thanks to their parents being some of the wealthiest people in the entire country. When they become old enough, one of the first things they spend a ton of cash on is a fast and flashy car. Some of us live our whole lives without ever being able to afford our dream cars, but for these wealthy kids, they're driving $200,000 vehicles by the time they turn 16. Their parents don't hesitate to spend this amount of cash either, as long as it makes their little boy or girl happy. That's all that matters. Some of their vehicles cost more than most houses. They love to flaunt their Bugattis and Ferraris all over social media. Sadly, the rest of us can only sit back and dream of what it would be like to live that kind of lifestyle. In the capital of Tehran, wealthy kids know that the flashier their car is, the better. So they all try to one-up their friends by seeing who can splurge on the dopest ride their parents' money can buy. Buying a car in Iran is much more expensive than buying a vehicle in other parts of the world. These luxury cars have to be exported in from the United Arab Emirates. Iranian dealerships equip the cars with the fanciest and most advanced technology. Then the cars are marked up around 30% and sold to their rich clientele. This means a car that has a $100,000 price tag in other parts of the world will cost $30,000 more in Iran. But do you think these rich kids care? Of course not. Car dealers in Iran say their rich customers don't even raise an eyebrow when they see the expensive price tags. All they're worried about is getting their hands on the newest car models to add them to their growing automobile collections. Once the car is in their name, they don't even think twice about getting it souped up and customized to their liking. Just check out this Mercedes-Benz from a rich kid in Iran. The car has been all decked out with beautiful gold accents. Pretty flashy, right? And we bet it cost a pretty penny too. When they're not zipping through the streets of Iran in their luxury rides, the rich kids of this country located on the Persian Gulf are usually spending a lot of time with their friends. After their day at school is over, they're racing over to the ARG commercial complex. It's one of the most popular malls in the capital city. Inside, you'll find some of the top designer brands in the world, including Robert Cavalli, Montblanc, Versace, and various luxury car dealerships. In Iran, there are strict religious rules that require women to dress modestly while in public, but that doesn't stop many rich kids from splurging on the latest, trendiest designs. They're still able to purchase Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Fendi, and Prada pieces, and they combine their outfits with a traditional head covering called a hijab. Now that major brands such as Dolce & Gabbana are designing luxury versions of the religious headwear, Iranian women can trade in their regular hijabs for these expensive designer versions. Wealthy kids who are used to getting whatever they want don't hesitate to spend thousands of dollars during one shopping trip. And of course, they can't wait to show off their designer goods and their shopping bags on social media. After a day of shopping, the rich kids need to refuel by heading out to lunch. And of course, they only eat the priciest cuisine. Thankfully, the ARG Mall is also home to one of the fanciest, most expensive restaurants. They can chow down on traditional food, including pomegranate walnut stew and rice with dill and fava beans, as long as they have their parents' credit cards to foot the bill. Although they can afford to eat out every day of the week, nothing beats eating a home-cooked meal in their lavish mansion. The second they step foot on their estate, they're greeted by a delicious spread of food prepared by their personal chefs. There's a big myth out there that you shouldn't swim after enjoying a big meal. Whether that's true or not, do you think the rich kids of Iran care to follow the rules? Nope, not at all. As soon as they're done running up a large tab in one of the country's most expensive restaurants or chowing down at home, they're racing off to take a dip in their pools. These aren't just any pools though, we're talking Olympic-sized ones that we'd love to lounge in front of all day long. Depending on the materials used, these pools can cost up to $50,000 or more. Of course, rich kids have to stick together, so when they plan on taking a dip into their custom pool, they make sure to call all their friends over first. After just a few calls, they can turn their gorgeous backyards into a massive pool party. With all of their rich friends in attendance, they can live it up while relaxing in floaties, sipping their fancy drinks, and lounging around in their super expensive bathing suits. Even their pets are living in the lap of luxury. Take a look at this adorable pooch who's going for a ride in its owner's expensive Mercedes-Benz. It must be nice to be able to ride around all day in a luxury vehicle. These wealthy kids have everything handed to them on a silver platter, but not everyone is amused by their displays of wealth. In 2014, Iran's Ministry of Culture banned the rich kids of Tehran social media account. The snapshots of the wealthy kids drinking alcohol, partying in nightclubs, and dressed inappropriately were in direct violation of the country's religious laws. But since then, the account has been resurrected. The profile has continued to post more and more photos of rich kids living their luxury lifestyles. The owner of the account said they were tired of the Middle East being portrayed in a negative way, so they made it their mission to show how beautiful their country really is. And what better way to show off the country's beauty than by posting pictures of rich kids blowing their cash like there's no tomorrow. And these rich kids are doing more than just living in the lap of luxury in Iran. They're taking their cash and jetting off to the most exotic places in the world. For the rest of us, we have to deal with long lines at the airport, lengthy TSA checkpoints, and the struggle of trying to stretch out and get some legroom in our economy seats. These rich kids can't even relate to this at all. They're flying all over the world in private jets and instructing their helicopter pilot to scoop them up and take them anywhere their heart desires. They're hitting the ski slopes in the winter, chilling on exotic beaches all year long, and snoozing in 5-star hotels across the globe. How amazing would it be to go wherever you want on a whim? Sign us up! When their trips come to an end, it's time for them to head back to their homes in Iran. But these aren't regular cookie-cutter houses. Their homes are like nothing we've ever seen before. Calling their house a mansion is simply an understatement. These rich kids are residing in places that look like they deserve their very own zip code. With thousands of square feet available, many of their houses look like palaces on the inside and the outside. Move over Beverly Hills, there's more than one prestigious location in the world, and these rich kids are definitely putting Iran on the map. They technically don't have to leave their homes if they don't want to. They have everything they need right there inside their own private estates. Take a look at this rich kid of Iran. She's lounging in her pool without a care in the world. While everyone else is at work, she's enjoying her drink and smoking the finest hookah. For rich kids, every day is the weekend and a time to celebrate. These kids are enjoying their lives and all the perks that come along with it. And can you really blame them? With their families' net worths in the millions or even billions of dollars, their elite lifestyles are easy to sustain. As soon as they spend a bunch of money, we're sure their parents don't hesitate to deposit even more funds into their accounts just to keep them happy. One thing you might have in common with the rich kids of Iran is their love for jewelry. But these kids aren't stocking up on costume jewelry and cheap bubbles. They're plopping down thousands of dollars to get their hands on eye-catching necklaces, bracelets, and icy timepieces. On their wrist, you'll usually find the fanciest watches from luxury brands such as Audemars Piguet to Rolex. On the low end, a brand new Rolex can have a price tag of $7,000 to $10,000. But for the flashier ones that are flanked by diamonds, the price can exceed over $70,000. This is more money than some people make in an entire year. But do you think these rich kids give a hoot? Their jewelry isn't the only thing that's covered in gold and diamonds. These wealthy kids are also customizing all of their electronics too. And they don't care how much they have to spend to get their hands on the most expensive gadgets. These cell phones are dripping in the most beautiful, glitziest diamonds we've ever seen. We're not too sure on the price tag, but we're almost certain a phone like this would definitely drain our bank accounts. But for the kids of Iran, they probably don't even ask for the price before handing over a wad of cash to pay for it. If we were to walk around the streets of Iran, we wouldn't be surprised if we bumped into more than a few rich kids who had one of these pricey phones in their possession. And when they're on the phone, they're probably chatting with their friends and trying to figure out more ways to spend even more money. When you have some extra cash on your hands, you probably deposit it into the bank or maybe splurge on a new outfit for a night out on the town, right? Well, for the rich kids of Iran, they don't have the kind of money issues some people are faced with. They gleefully make pricey purchases and literally pour their money down the drain without a care in the world. This photo shows a rich kid holding a very expensive bottle of champagne called Ace of Spades. One bottle will set you back close to $300. In true rich kid fashion, this person is wasting the entire bottle by pouring it down the drain in their luxury bathroom. As the children of Iran's elite citizens, these kids are untouched by the country's harsh reality. Poverty continues to be a huge issue for many Iranians. The minimum monthly salary is just $170 for the working class, but for the rich, many of them invested in the real estate market and watched their net worth skyrocket into the millions. If you had the same amount of money as these rich kids of Iran, what's the first thing you would splurge on? Make sure to leave your answer down below in the comment section, and the most original reply just might get pinned to the top of the comments. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you can be notified when we upload a brand new video. See you next time!